expired. Senator Smith.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy President. Well, we saw it all today, we saw it all yesterday, we've seen it all week. A huge lack of imagination on the part of the Australian Labor Party in the Australian Senate. All week they tried hopelessly and unsuccessfully, and I'll come to why unsuccessfully in a brief moment, to prosecute the most spurious of arguments against the Attorney-General. You're right. They could have been focusing on issues of substance, rising consumer confidence in the economy. They could have been talking about industrial disputation in the construction sector and why industrial relations reform that this Senate will debate in a few weeks' time is important. They could have discussed a whole variety of issues, but no, they started on a course of action that failed this afternoon with Senator Brandis's revelation that Mark Dreyfus is guilty of grand hypocrisy. So let's start. Let's start at the beginning. Last Friday, the 7th of October, and I hold Senator Moore I have great respect for Senator Moore, but Senator Moore's suggestion that this is actually not about contestability and legal advice, that this is actually not about whether or not the Attorney-General is free to get other sources of legal advice. That is exactly what this issue is about. And why do we know that? Because that is how Mark Dreyfus started the argument on the 7th of October. Let me read from Mr Dreyfus's media statement of the 7th of October. To make it easy for you, I'll start with the title. Brandis opinion shopping, another sign of government dysfunction. Mr Dreyfus uses some very, very colourful language. He says that Senator Brandis has been opinion shopping for legal advice, and it goes to the heart of concerns about the failure of Senator Brandis to work with Australia's second law officer. And I'll come in a moment to why that's not true. It goes on to say that the job of the Solicitor-General is to provide legal advice to the government, to government ministers and to heads of department. Senator Brandis has clearly hobbled the ability of the Solicitor-General to do his job. Not true, and I'll come to why that is in a moment. It goes on to say, Senator Brandis's failure to consult the Solicitor-General breaks a century-long tradition of Attorneys-General and Solicitors-General working together on Commonwealth legal matters. Big, grand statements from Mr Dreyfus. And finally, he goes on to say that the Attorney-General needs to explain why he is not seeking the advice of the Solicitor-General on issues of public importance. Senator Brandis has failed to consult the one person that he is expected to consult for legal advice. Not true. Not true. And today, Senator Brandis ended the week with a king hit against the Labor Party and its senators and their efforts, their appallingly useless, futile efforts to brand Senator Brandis as a failure in his role as the Chief Legal Officer for the nation. In contrast, Senator Brandis is an outstanding Attorney-General for this Commonwealth. So let's get to the core of the issue. What is Mr Dreyfus's real view about opinion shopping? What is Mr Dreyfus's real view? Don't ask me. Don't even ask the Labor senators on the other side. Let's ask Mr Dreyfus himself. So there it is for the world to see, page 174 of the book by Professor Gabriel Appleby, The Role of the Solicitor-General. And you just have to go a little way down the page. For those of us that can read English, it is easy to see. It is crystal clear. It says, some former Attorneys-General indicated that they were willing to seek alternative legal opinions where they disagreed with the Solicitor-General's advice, that they were willing to seek other advice, what Mr Dreyfus would call opinion shopping. Then it says, similarly, Mark Dreyfus indicated that the Solicitor-General's advice was given a high status within the government. Nonetheless, Mr Dreyfus, would occasionally seek another legal opinion. He explained that he might seek another opinion on particularly important political issues. Mr Dreyfus says, or two, or three. Perhaps I might feel I needed two to outweigh the Solicitor-General's advice. Outweigh the Solicitor-General's advice, and I would go and get very senior advice. And I've done that, and I would do it again, and I would do it again. Mr Dreyfus is accusing Senator Brandis of things he does himself, he has done in the past, and he believes are totally respectable, credible. The idea that there should not be contestability around important legal advice that governs the affairs of the Commonwealth is just ridiculous.
Senator Smith,